Well, hello, rock hounds, Lapidary lovers. Mike here. Welcome back to my channel. And I've got rocks. Wow, have I got rocks. And this isn't even all of them. This is just some of them. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what a typical day of working on rocks out in my outdoor laboratory is like. We're going to cut some rocks. We're going to slab them. We're going to do some other stuff. It's a nice spring day here in Florida. It's not oppressively hot and humid yet. It's early in the morning, so we're going to get started here pretty quick. I'm going to cut and slab some stuff and do some other things and probably make a whole day of it, I'm thinking. It's going to take a while to get all this done that I want to do today, so probably pretty much all day out here. And show you what a typical day in my lab is like. So this is a typical day. We're just going to cut some typical rocks. I don't have anything spectacular because I haven't been rock hunting in a while. I don't want to get your hopes up too high that there's anything spectacular, but you never know once we start cutting into stuff what we might find. So watch as we cut into some rocks and see what's on the inside. Hopefully there's some really good stuff, okay? So I'm going to pull some rocks out of my collection here, and I've got some in my workshop too, and line them up and figure out what we're going to work on today and what we're going to do with it, and I'll show you that in just a second. So normally on a day like today, I would also check the contents of one or more of my tumbler drums over here to see how things are going, but I think I will save that for one of my regular What's Tumbling Today videos, because just otherwise this video is probably going to get too long if I show you all the other stuff I do on a typical day of working out in my workshop here on rocks, because it can be quite lengthy and time consuming. So we'll save that for another video. Let me show you what else we're going to do. We're going to cut some rocks. And I've got two different saws here, and I think if I'm running both of them, I can really up my productivity a lot and maybe cut most, if not all, of these rocks I've got laid out here today. So we can get a look at what's on the inside. Actually, it's what's on the outside of some of these I'm interested in, and what's on the inside on the others that I'm interested in. We'll take a close-up look at these rocks in a minute, and I'll explain to you why I want to cut them. But the two saws we're going to use, first off, we're going to use this cheap Harbor Freight tile saw over here, which I featured in one of my earlier videos where I talked about inexpensive lapidary equipment. So some of these smaller rocks we'll cut on it, and then some of the bigger ones, or the ones where I want to cut thin, precise slabs, we'll use the big 16-inch saw over here, Lazarus over here in the corner. I call it Lazarus because this thing is probably older than I am, and I am old, okay? And I brought it back from the dead several times now, rebuilt it, and just keep it running. So that's why it's called Lazarus. But here's the rocks I want to cut. I'll give you a closer-up look at them, but we got a variety of stuff here. Got some petrified wood, a couple pieces of petrified wood. Got some strange agate stuff. Got a geode, a little geode I want to cut. Got a piece of dragon's blood, which I want to cut up into smaller pieces for tumbling. Got a big agate nodule here. Got some Sheepsbridge purple sagonite that my buddy Jim sent me that I never got around to cutting because I couldn't hold it properly for cutting, but that problem is solved. So let's get on to cutting this. And then I've got this piece of crazy lace agate here, which was a remnant from a rock shop I bought. What I want to do is, there's not much material left on this, but what I want to do is I want to take some thin slabs off of the edges where there is still some material, because the patterns on those edges is really cool. And I think those would be great for calving. So that's where we're going to go with this. And I'll give you a closer up look at some of these rocks and wet them down so you can see exactly why I want to cut these today. So that's a lot of rocks. I don't know if we'll get to them all today. We'll see how far I get. Also, I've got some other rocks I want to clean up before tumbling. So I may cut those up a little bit on the small saw. I'll explain what I mean by cleaning them up when we get to that. Just keep me busy while I'm waiting on the big saw, because I got a feeling this day is going to be mostly waiting on the big saw. Okay, let's start by having a look at this rock here. This is one I found cleaning out my workshop over here. I've had this for a long time, and this is some sort of weird jasp agate. I think I picked it up at a rock shop, but I'm not 100% certain. It's just been too long. Let me wet it down and show you what it looks like wet. Oh my, isn't that something? So we've got lots of swirls of multicolored jasper in there, along with some transparent chalcedony. So I want to try and cut some slices off of this. What I want to do is I want to hold it with my rock clamp and cut it from the back side, cut some thin slices off, and see what we get when we get into it. So that's why I want to cut this one. Well, here's the Mexican Crazy Lace Agate. And well, yeah, it's pretty obvious. This has got some good looking agate stuff in it here. So yeah, I want to cut some off of that side. I want to cut some off of that side. And there's really nothing I can do with this side because it's so thin. Although I could make cabs out of this pretty easily because it's super thin already. But there's a little meat there, and they were kind enough at the rock shop before I bought it to polish up these two sides. So, hey, that makes life easy. Whatever slabs I can get off of them, the first ones here, are going to be nice and polished. So, we'll cut that. We'll probably cut this on the big saw, since these are fairly big slabs, and I'd like them to be fairly straight and uniform in thickness, so I'll probably cut them on the big saw. So here's that piece of purple sagonite that Jim sent me that I've had forever and just haven't got around to cutting yet, just because I don't have a good way to clamp it into the saw. It's a very irregular shape. I don't want to do it by hand, so I'll use my rock clamp for that, and we'll clamp this up in the saw and we'll start slicing from this side and see what we get. I got a feeling it's only going to be the last slab or two that are nice, but you never know. We'll see what's inside. So I've got this agate nodule here, and it looks like it's mostly semi-transparent chalcedony, but let me get it wet for you and see if we can find, yeah, we got some plumy stuff over here on the inside there. There might be some moss in there. Basically, who knows? I mean, looking at it, let me get my flashlight. I mean, it's definitely got some transparency to it. And I see stuff in there, but it's hard to tell exactly what I'm looking at. That might be moss in there. Yeah, there's that plumy stuff. So, yeah, there might be banding right there. It's really hard to tell from the outside, but this area really looks interesting. I'd like to take a thin slice off of that and see what it looks like on the inside. So, we're definitely going to cut that. Here's this little geode I've got. I probably bought this in a rock shop years ago and just forgot about it and found it when I was cleaning up my workshop. So we're going to cut this. I will probably cut this on the big saw too because I think I can clamp this well enough to cut it. I'll just have to figure out what angle I want to cut it at. So here's a chunk of dragon's blood. I just bought this the other day at a rock shop in Ohio. My wife and I were up there for the eclipse. And there was a rock shop, so naturally I had to stop. And I got a piece of dragon's blood there. And, well, I want to tumble it, but it's a pretty big piece. I'm thinking I can at least cut it in half and get a couple of pieces to tumble. So I might use the small saw for that. So we'll see what this looks like on the inside when I cut it. Got a piece of petrified wood here. I found this when I was hiking in Arizona. And it's pretty fractured. And it'll probably just fall apart when I cut it. But, you know, I could see this when I picked it up. And I've already cut one end off. And in fact, I got to thinking, you know, I'm cutting this rock. Maybe I should just make a video while I'm doing it, you know? Might be interesting. So I cut this part off. And we got some semi-transparent yellow chalcedony here, which is kind of cool. So what I want to try and do is I want to try get a super thin slice of this and see just how translucent or transparent this yellow chalcedony is. and then maybe get another thicker slice off that I can tumble before I get into the area that's just going to fall apart. And if these pieces are big enough when it falls apart, maybe I could just throw them in the tumbler too and see what we get. So I want to cut this. Probably do it on the big saw because I want to have super good control of how thick the slices are and how even they are. Got another piece of what I believe is petrified wood here. Found this rock hounding in Arizona. So I want to just take a slice off of it and see what it looks like on the inside. So it's almost small enough to tumble, but if it's got really pretty stuff on the inside, what I might do is cut it in half. So I'll have two pieces to tumble and see how they come out. But first I want to see if there's anything good on the inside. So that's what we're going to be cutting today. All this stuff. And we'll get both saws going at once just to try and increase productivity. And I think I'm going to start by putting this piece of Mexican crazy lace in the saw and trying to get a few slices off of this side. There's really nothing too pretty right here that I'm too worried about losing. I would like to get this bug with its amazing amazing banding around it. But let me take a slice or two off of this side, and then I'll flip it and take a slice or two off of this side, and we'll see if there's any meat left to take any more slices off, or if it's just going to be too thin and too pointless. So let me get this in the big saw and get it started, and then we'll limber up the small saw and cut one of these other rocks and see what we got while the big saw is working. All right, while the big saw is slicing up the Mexican crazy lace agate, and you can probably hear it in the background, it's quite loud. While that's going on, I think I'll start out on the small saw with this piece of dragon's blood, and we'll get a look at what it's like on the inside. Let's see how I best want to cut this to make two decent pieces to tumble. I guess right through here. So I'll try that. I got my splash guard here, just a couple boards clamped together, keep me from getting too wet. So here's a close-up of the cut ends on the dragon's blood. So we got some sort of red, I guess jasper in a sort of gray-green matrix here. We'll see how this looks when it tumbles up. So I'll get these in a future batch in the tumbler and see how they look. I'll put this on my pile of stuff to tumble. Okay, next on the small saw, I'm going to shave a little bit off of this edge right here so we can get a look on the inside and see if this is really petrified wood and whether it's pretty petrified wood or not. So let me get started on that. I'm just going to cut a little bit, you know. Maybe it'd be easier to cut this side. Maybe I'll cut some off of this side right here. That side's got kind of a strange angle to it. So I'll try cutting it like this and we'll see what's on the inside. Well, that didn't work quite as well as I'd hoped. Let me see if I can get a better focus on it for you here. So it looks like there is some chalcedony in there. I think I'm going to, and we had a bit of a blowout there. My blade wasn't quite thick enough to cut through the whole thing, so we got a little bit of a blowout there. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half, right about through here. And we'll see what it looks like. It almost looks like there's a pocket or something here. And or do I want to cut it in half this way? Maybe I want to cut it in half. Yeah, I want to cut it in half this way through here, I think. And we'll see what that looks like. Then I'll have two pieces I can tumble if I want to. So let me cut it like that. Thicker than I thought. There we go. Okay, I made some modifications to my splash guard. I guess I need to make sure it doesn't move, bolt it down a little bit, or hey. So here's the cuts on this piece of what I'm pretty sure is petrified wood. It's got some chalcedony in it. It's agatized, and if you look real close up in here, you can just see there's some fortification banding there in the chalcedony. So yeah, I think I'll put this stuff on my pile of stuff to tumble too. I'm tempted to just cut this piece in half again, because it's pretty big. I think I might do that. I might cut this in half, so I'll have 3 pieces out of this piece of presumed petrified wood to tumble. So here's the 2 pieces, and wow, okay, we got all kinds of stuff going on here. We've got some agate stuff there. We got a pocket over here full of botroidal stuff. That pocket's going to make tumbling this difficult. That's going to be a problem. We got some fortification banding there. We got some fortification banding here in a couple of different colors. We got some white and clear up here, and we got some red down here. So yeah, look at we got some tubes on this end of this now that I'm wet, and maybe some crystal pocket in the center. Okay, so yeah, there's some interesting stuff. There's some more fortification banding right there. It'll focus. So there's a lot going on with this rock. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this one in half too, just so we can see what in the world might be going on inside it, because there's a lot going on inside this piece. This is an unassuming little piece of rock I picked up in Arizona. It's got so much going on inside it. Let's see what else might be going on inside. I'm going to cut that in half too. Yeah, can you see the botroidal stuff in there? Yeah, tumbling this piece isn't going to be easy with that big pocket in there to collect stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Now here's the piece I just cut in half. Not as interesting. Looks like we got some chalcedony up here and over here, and maybe in the middle there. But we'll have to see how these tumble up. These pieces here don't have any. Well, there's a deep pit, but they don't have any deep pockets in them, so I think at least 3 of these I can tumble up good. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this one. Not really sure. Anyway, it sounds like the big saw is done. So let me pull the stuff out of it. So let's have a look at the pieces I've cut off of this. I've still got this chunk right here. it's getting pretty small, but we still got all this nice, beautiful stuff here and here. I could probably cab. It's thin, but it's there. I think I may have got pretty good cuts off of it. Maybe not the best stuff left there, but look what we got here. Got some nice slices. This slice unfortunately broke. This was the first cut. This is a polished face, so that unfortunately broke. The rest of them stuck together. Look at the banding around this vug in here. Got some botryoidal stuff inside the vug. Got some super fine banding down in here. Yeah, there's the other side of that vug. That is nice. That is nice banding. I like that. That is really nice. Over here, again, the same vug. Got some banding around it. And on this side, starting to get in some fractures. Now this last piece, this is the last piece I cut. This is kind of interesting. We're starting to get some yellow in here. And yeah, it's not showing up on the video all that great, but this is really bright yellow and electric red over here. So, I don't know, I might want to try and take some cabs out of this. We got some really interesting banding in here. The colors are pretty amazing. So, I think that was worthwhile, cutting that up. I will keep these in my box of stuff to be cabbed in the future, and we'll see what I can make out of them. Keep that too. Alrighty, up next in the big saw, I think I'm going to put this in. Like I said before, I want to take a thin cut and see just how translucent this yellow chalcedony is. And then what I might do is take a thicker cut right across here. This is all fractured back here. It's going to fall apart, I'm sure. But maybe I can get one big piece out for tumbling. And, well, we'll see. We'll see what the thin piece looks like. If the thin piece is really nice, maybe I'll want to take another couple thin pieces off. We'll see. So let me get this in the big saw, and we'll get it cut. So while I'm waiting on the big saw to do its thing very noisily behind me, I've got a variety of other little rocks here. A variety of stuff, mostly petrified wood, but there's also some banded iron here and some multicolored chert. I would like to tumble this stuff, but I need to clean it up. I know from experience that a rock this rough on the edges is going to take months and months in rough grit to clean up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these and clean up their edges, and that should dramatically shorten the amount of time they're going to have to be in rough grit before they clean up. I mean, these flat surfaces will clean up in almost no time, but the rough edges, well, that's going to take forever. So I'll just take them over to the little saw there, and I will clean up the edges as best I can. I'll probably end up having to cut this one in half through this bug right here, but that's okay. Both halves will be pretty. And yeah, this one right here, it's really super thin right here, and I know from experience too, the super thin edges like this, they just keep breaking off, and they never get nice and rounded over. So I'll just round it over on the saw, and then we'll be good to go for tumbling. So let me get started on these while I'm waiting on the other saw. Well, this thing proved to be pretty fractured up, even worse than I thought. The thin slices I tried to get off of it, well, I think I may have went a little too thin. But even the thicker slice I wanted to take, it's fractured too, so it's just too broken up to really do much with. But yeah, the chalcedony is really, really translucent there. That yellow and orange stuff. Really, really translucent. I like that, but there's really not much I can do with it. I might try to clean these pieces up and tumble them. Retumble that one. This one here, I think if I just drop it on the ground, it's going to break into a half a dozen pieces, and maybe I'll tumble those pieces. We'll see. I'll give it some thought. Anyway, I need to figure out what I want to put in the saw next, and I think I know what that's going to be. So we're going to do this agate nodule next. I was struggling with how to clamp it because it's pretty round, and where I wanted to cut it. So we've got the plumy stuff over here. There might be some moss in there. There might be some, I don't know if it's showing up. There might be some fortification banding in there. There might be some moss over here. So I'm thinking if I cut it, take slices into it this way, that might be the best way to expose whatever in the world is going on in there. Start with thin slices and just keep slicing and see what we get. So I got it clamped in my rock clamp here, and we'll get it in the saw because there's really just no way I can clamp this in the big clamp in the saw, but I can clamp this in the clamp in the saw. And this, I'll double check that the bolts are good and tight, and hopefully this rock won't pop out, and we'll get some nice slices through it and see what in the wide world of sports is going on in the middle of this thing. Because it's really hard to tell from the outside just what's going on in there. So we'll do a little investigative surgery and see what's going on the inside. So let me get this in the saw, and we'll get cutting. Yep, back to doing this. I like to have a bunch of rocks ready to go into rough grit every time I clean out my rough tumbler. I keep my big 12-pound tumbler, I keep it tumbling in rough all the time. And every week or so I will dump it out, pull out the stuff that's ready to move on, put in the rest stuff that's not ready back in it, and add new rocks to it. So I like to have a bunch of rocks ready to go, and just cleaning them up a little bit before I throw them in just speeds things up something wonderful. Let me tell you, they'll be ready in a week or two instead of a couple of months. So let me get back at it here. Yeah, not only does this prep work get the rocks done quicker, but I burn up less of the expensive silicon carbide rough grit on them to get them nice and smooth, you know, by not having to tumble them for months on end. That's going to be really pretty when it tumbles up. Now it won't take as long. Yeah, I like that. Alright, well, that was kind of a waste of time, sad to say. And it wasted a lot of time taking 5 slices off of this agate nodule, let me tell you. But there's just no there, you know, like they say. I mean, I was hoping there would be banding. I was hoping there would be moss. I had one piece of moss. I was hoping there'd be some plumy stuff. None of the above. Absolutely none of the above. You know, there's a piece of moss, but I mean, really, there's just nothing there. Nothing pretty at all. Just total waste of time. I kept cutting, hoping if I got further in that there'd be something good there. But, well, I've cut probably over half of the nodule away, and it doesn't look like there's anything good in there. I mean, I'll pull it out of the rock clamp and we'll take a closer look at it. But really, that was a waste of time and electricity, unfortunately. Well, there's what's left of the nodule. I mean, it looks promising from the outside. When I was shining the flashlight into it, I mean, I could see there was transparent chalcedony in there. Even a little bit comes through this thick nodule. But I could see there was transparent chalcedony in there. I could see some kind of structure. Well, it turns out it's just this pale milky white stuff in there, really. Whatever plumy stuff there was right on the surface. There weren't many bits of moss inside. There's just no wow factor to this thing. There's no there. So, yeah, that was a waste of time. I may just throw this in my pile to be tumbled and tumble this and see what it looks like tumbled. Maybe it'll be kind of pretty tumbled. We'll see. So what's going to be the next victim for the saw? Well, I think hopefully we can redeem ourselves after this failure with a nice geode. I want to cut it right through here and see what we've got inside. So I've got it clamped in good and tight. Let me get it in the saw and we'll cut it and see what's inside. Hopefully something better than this. Well, okay, this is a little better. It's got subtle banding in it, but the color is really pretty. It's wet with oil, which is kind of how it's going to look when it's polished. But you can see the banding in there. I like the color. It's really pretty. So it's not the prettiest geode I've ever cut in half, but it is certainly not the ugliest either. I've cut some ugly geodes in half over the years, so yeah. This is an improvement over that. Okay, so hopefully we'll get better yet, because the next victim up is the Sheep's Bridge Purple Sagonite. I've already got it clamped into the rock clamp here, and I'm going to take a series of cuts off of it, and hopefully we'll get into some nice purple stuff, and maybe some nice patterns too. We'll see. Let me get it in the saw and get it started. Well, it was kind of exactly like I figured. Really only the last one here, the one that actually showed the purple sagonite on it, is the one that's actually got a lot of purple sagonite. And sagonite kind of relates to the texture of the crystals in there, kind of fluffy, needly, feather-like stuff in there. That's what sagonite term comes from. So, I mean, by the second cut, by the third cut, I could see a little bit of purple. You know, there's a little bit of purple there. Third cut, more purple. And then, basically, I've just got one thick slab left. I couldn't cut this any thinner. This is where most of the purple is. But I'll tell you what, these slabs, they have a lot of vesicles or bubbles in them. They were probably like rhyolite lava originally. And all those vesicles have been filled in with chalcedony. Kind of neat. It kind of looks like galaxy stone, actually. And some of those, it's hard to see, but some of them actually have little fortification bands and stuff in them. So that's very cool. That's very neat. You know, all the way up to the big one here. So that's kind of cool. So that was an interesting cut. Well, there's your Sheep's Bridge Purple Sagonite gem that you sent me, finally cut up. I could probably get a cab or two out of this one. It's got some deep purple areas over here and some interesting textures, so that's cool. Reflections aren't doing it any justice here, but it's a good looking rock. I'm happy with that. Well, all right. I think this has been a pretty good day out here in my outdoor workshop. The weather's been perfect, got a lot done. Didn't get everything I wanted to cut, but you know what? I never do. There just aren't enough hours in the day on days like today when I can be out here and work on this stuff. But that just means there will be more for the future. So, yeah, I think it's a pretty good day. Got some stuff slabbed that could produce some nice cabs in the future, so that's good. cut a geode, which is pretty cool on the inside. Got a bunch of stuff ready for tumbling over here, including the remains of this agate nodule, which hopefully will be prettier tumbled than it's been slabbed. Yeah, I got some dragon's blood here, some petrified wood, lots more petrified wood, some banded iron. All this stuff's going to get tumbled. And some more petrified wood over here I can tumble. And it's been a pretty good outing for my slab grabber rock clamp, too, which really hasn't seen much use up till now. But boy, did it do a good job today holding all these irregular rocks so I could cut them just exactly the way I wanted to. So that was beautiful. I really like that thing. So yeah, I'd say it's been a good day. I got to clean up and get in the house. It's just about supper time. Subscribe to see my future videos where you may see some of this stuff again being tumbled, being cabbed, being whatever. And I think those will be pretty interesting videos, so subscribe. And if you found this video at all interesting, educational, informative, inspirational, whatever, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. And I will see you in my next video. Thanks a lot for watching this one. Bye.